Hey everyone, I'm Tara. Welcome back to my channel. This week I have a hip opening yoga practice for you guys. It will be a little more intermediate level as I'll be offering some more challenging variations in our different poses, but of course I'll also be offering you modifications. If you like practicing with me and you're looking for longer yoga practices or ways to deepen your yoga practice, please check out my Patreon. You'll find more content there to really just help you along your yoga journey. That'll be linked down below. And with all that said, we'll get right into our practice. We will start today by lying on our backs. All right, so lying on your back, you're gonna have your knees bent, feet planted on the floor. Your feet are hip width apart, and just let your knees fall in toward one another. Hands can rest on the pelvis or on your lower abdomen. And just connect with your breath here, just centering in for practice. Letting go through the lower spine. Letting go through the hips for a moment. 2 more breaths. And then bring the knees apart and draw the feet and the knees together. Feet are still planted on the floor. Hands can be at your sides. We're just going to move on and off between bound angle to start to warm up through the hips. So you're going to let the knees fall out to the sides like you're going into bound angle, butterfly, and then you're going to pull the knees back in toward one another. And we're just going to connect our breath with this movement, and I really want you to make it slow and controlled through the hips. So as you inhale, you let the legs start to fall out to the side to whatever depth feels good for you. As you exhale, you pull the legs back in while you also pull the navel down and in, getting a little core activation. Inhale as you let go through the hips, opening. Exhale as you pull the legs in, getting a little core navel contraction. Inhale, legs come out to the sides. Exhale, pull it in. Keep going like that at your own pace. Maybe you want to take it a little faster. Maybe you want to take it a little slower, getting into that slow, controlled movement. Just try to keep the breath connected. Go ahead and take one more round. Good. And then once you complete that one, just hug the knees in, hugging the knees in toward your chest, allowing the breath to come back to a comfortable pace, allowing the abdominal muscles to relax. And then place the feet down, roll onto your side, make your way up into sitting. Make your way to all fours, so on your hands and knees. Step the hands about a palm print forward, toes tuck, press back into downward facing dog. And just find some movement here, bending one knee, straightening the other, working that heel to the ground, and just moving on and off this way. Opening through the calves. And just finding a little movement, warming up through the body. And then everyone find stillness. Knees can be straight or bent. Just try to make that nice triangle shape with your body. Hips are up to the sky. 3 breaths. From here, start to walk your feet up toward your hands. And once your feet make it to the top of your mat, roll yourself up 1 vertebrae at a time, coming up through standing. Step wide, facing the side of your mat. So toes are going to be facing the side of the mat. You're in this wide stance. We're going to do half skandasanas, kind of like a side lunge. to do a little more warm up through the body, and then we'll get more into our hip opening. So you're gonna bend the right knee, sit the hips back as you squat down toward the right, come up so you're back in your wide stance, and then you bend the left knee, squatting down toward the left. Okay, so they're kind of like side lunges. You can move on and off at your own pace, really just warming up through the lower body, but make sure you're really sitting back into the hip and that your knee, so when you bend the knee, like my right knee's bent, make sure it's not driving forward, that your knee is in line with your ankle so I can still see my toes, and you get that alignment by really sitting back in the hips. Take one more each side. Come back to center. Turn the toes so they're pointing out toward the sides of your mat. Drop down into goddess pose. Keep pulling the knees toward the back of the mat, okay? And we're just gonna find a little movement here, so you can place the hands on the thighs, shifting side to side. And then come to stillness. Press your left hand into your left thigh as you drop your left shoulder, maybe looking to the right. And then switch. So the right hand presses into the thigh, right shoulder drops, and you look left. And switch here. Maybe getting a little lower into your goddess. Go ahead and switch as you drop the shoulder down. Take one more each direction. I know the legs are probably feeling it. Come back through center. Open the arms into cactus, one breath. And then straighten through the knees. Step yourself back up to the top of your mat. So unfortunately, from this point on, I think my microphone died and I lost audio. So I'm voicing over the rest of this practice, which won't change the practice, but I'm just letting you know, so if it looks like my mouth's moving but not lining up with what I'm saying, that's why. Okay, so back to our practice. You're gonna step your feet a little wider than hip width apart with your toes pointing outward slightly. And we're gonna be squatting down into Malasana Yogi Squat. So go ahead and squat down into your Malasana, hands in prayer at your heart. And feel free to just shift side to side a little bit here, finding a little bit of movement in your Malasana. Sometimes that's nice to start with a little movement before we go into stillness. And then we'll take a twist by reaching the right arm out to the right. Left arm reaches up, twisting to the left. Breathe. If a bind is in your practice, you can reach the right arm around the right shin, reach the left arm back, and take a bind, but only do this if it feels good for you. And just breathe here, whichever variation you're in. And then if you're in the bind, open the arms back out. And then everyone bring the hands back into prayer at the center of the heart, and we'll take the twist to the other side, reaching the left arm out toward the left, right arm reaches up, twisting to the right. Option for the bind, wrapping the left arm around left shin, right arm reaches back. Again, honor your body and where you're at today. Just because you can bind too doesn't mean you have to bind today. Always listening to your body. If you have the bind, open the arms back out. And then everyone come back to center by bringing the hands in prayer. Press the elbows into the thighs, really deepening your yogi squat. And then power up through the legs, coming up to standing, arms reaching overhead. And then draw the palms back into the heart center, legs back together, standing in Tadasana. Breathe here. And then you're going to take a big step back with your left foot, coming up into crescent lunge, arms reach up. Breathe. And then pivot around to face the side of your mat. So you're in that side lunge again. So you could stay here in more of a half skandasana, so like we did in the beginning of practice, or you could drop down into full skandasana. So it's a deep bend in the right knee, left toes point up toward the sky, and you're going to reach the right arm out on that diagonal to the right. Left arm reaches up, finding a twist, kind of like we just did in Malasana. Breathe here. If you're in the high variation, just keep the hands in prayer. The hands could also be in prayer in the low variation as well. And then slowly start to pivot around, coming through runner's lunge, lifting up to crescent lunge, and then powering up to stand at the top of the mat. And switching sides, taking a big step back with the right foot, stepping back into your crescent lunge. High lunge. Breathe. And then pivot around to face the other side of your mat. So we're moving into skandasana on the left side. So you could stay in that higher lateral lunge, so a higher skandasana, or squatting down, so a deep bend in the left knee, right toes point up to the sky. If you're in the low variation, option for the twist by reaching the left arm out, right arm up. And breathe again in the high variation, hands stay in prayer. Or hands can stay in prayer in the low variation as well. And then slowly, everyone, pivot back around into runner's lunge, lift back into crescent lunge, hands in prayer as you power up to the top of the mat, standing into Tadasana, mountain pose. Breathe. And then reach the arms up overhead, finding length. And fold forward into your forward fold, Uttanasana. Step back into plank pose and pause in plank and breathe. Pull the navel in toward the spine. And then draw the right knee behind the right wrist and sit down into your pigeon pose. If you need a block under your pelvis, feel free to take that option. And everyone's going to prop up on the fingertips first, finding length in their pigeon. Breathe. Option to reach the arms up. This is a lot on the low back, so just do this if it feels good. If the arms are up, place them back down. And then you could either stay lifted or take a forward fold. If you're taking the fold in pigeon, just remember to find length in your spine as you fold forward. And just breathe here, breathing into the right outer hip. Pigeon pose is, or can be, a really intense hip opener. So just being present with this pose, staying connected with the breath. Option for a quad stretch if you'd like it, by bending the left knee, holding the left foot or left outer ankle with the left hand, and then just leaning forward, stretching into the quad. This is just an option. Breathe into whatever variation you're in. If you have the foot in the hand, release it now. And everyone is gonna walk the hands back up, propping up onto the fingertips again, really finding length, squaring that left hip down to really get a nice opening in the front of the left hip. And then press into the palms, step back to plank, and transition to the other side. Left knee lands behind left wrist, sitting into pigeon on the left. Propping up onto the fingertips, finding length first, and then option to reach the arms up. If that feels good, again, this can be a lot on the lower back muscles, so honor your body. The arms are up, place them back down, And then you can either stay high in pigeon or you could fold forward, again, finding length in the spine as you fold. Just breathing into the left outer hip space. Noticing any sensations in the body physically, or even noticing how you feel emotionally without judgment. Just being present with what is. Few more breaths here. If you'd like the quad stretch, you could take that option now. Bending the right knee, holding the right outer ankle or the right foot, pulling the foot toward your butt, leaning forward, and just getting that stretch into the right quad. Stay connected with breath. And if you're holding the foot, go ahead and release that now. Everyone, walk back up so you're in that tall version of pigeon, squaring the right hip down, opening through the right hip flexor, the psoas. You might feel this in the front of the right hip or even going into the right lower abdomen. Breathe. And then press into the palms, step back through plank, and then wave back into your downward facing dog. Breathe. And then slowly dropping to the knees, feet crossed behind you as you make your way back into sitting. And we're going to move into gomukhasana. So you're going to tuck the left leg in and the right leg is going to cross over. So your right knee is stacking on top of your left. And if you can, you're going to try to bring that left foot out a little bit. And this is a pretty deep hip opener here. So find a variation that feels good for you. If this is just really uncomfortable, you could always take double pigeon by placing the right foot on the left thigh or the right foot in front of the left. So you have options here. So take what feels right for you. Remember, honor your body. Just breathe. You could stay sitting up nice and tall, or you could start to take a forward fold. Again, finding length in the spine as you fold forward. Just trying to let go into the hip space, especially if you're in gomukhasana. This kind of gets both hips at the same time. So really just breathing into it. Few more breaths here. And if you're forward, walking yourself back up and then switching sides. So if you're taking gomukhasana, you're going to tuck the right leg under and the left leg is going to cross over. So again, stacking the knees so the left knee is on top of the right. Double pigeon is also an option. And you're trying to kind of get the feet apart. So the right foot likes to tuck all the way under. So you're trying to see if you can bring it out to the side a little bit. If that's not possible, that's okay too. Again, just honoring your body, breathing into the hips. Either staying sitting up nice and tall in gomukhasana or double pigeon, or if you would like to take a forward fold, go ahead and fold forward, finding length in the spine as you fold. Checking in through both hips and seeing if you could just let go a little bit more. Just stay connected with your breath. If you're forward, walk yourself back up, uncross your legs, and everyone go ahead and meet me on all fours. Toes are going to be together, knees go out wide as you sit back into a wide leg child's pose, resting the forehead on the earth. Breathe. And then slowly snake your way forward, dropping yourself down into Sphinx pose. So you're on the forearms, legs are relaxed, and just getting a little extension through the lower back. After we did do a lot of forward folding, it's kind of nice to reverse that with the Sphinx. And then you can relax down, roll over onto your side, and then rolling all the way over onto your back. So you have two options for our final relaxation pose. You could take traditional Shavasana, relaxing the legs straight out, or we'll go back to how we started our practice by bringing the feet nice and wide on the mat. So the knees are bent, feet are nice and wide, and then you let the knees fall in toward one another. So choose your option. Everyone do a little tuck under of the shoulders and then relax down to open through the heart space. Palms are facing up, eyes closed down, and connecting with your breath. Letting go through the hip space, letting go through the glutes, allowing the abdominal muscles to relax, and just staying connected with your breath, allowing it to flow in and out at a comfortable pace. And just taking this time in this relaxation pose to allow your practice to integrate, to feel into any shifts that occurred in your body, mind, or soul, spirit. Just taking a moment to just be present, to notice shifts without judgment. And if you don't notice any shifts, also honoring that without judgment as well. There's no specific way you have to feel after a practice. Just be with what is. Few more breaths here. Slowly start to bring your awareness back to the physical body by wiggling your fingers and toes. If you have the knees bent, go ahead and straighten them out on your mat. And everyone drawing the legs together, reaching the arms overhead, creating length in the body. Slowly bending through the knees and rolling onto one side, keeping your bottom arm straight out to rest your head on the arm. And then slowly using your hands to walk yourself back up into sitting in easy pose, hands in prayer at the center of your heart. And we'll close our practice here with one breath together. Nice deep inhale. And exhale, let it go. Returning to your comfortable breath, releasing your hands down and blinking your eyes back open to the world around you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.